This is the process shot. I'm Michael. I can jump, but choose not to. And I've seen Chang Can Dunk, a new coming-of-age sports comedy drama from director Jingyi Shao. It follows a teenage boy named Chang, attempting to reinvent himself, but never quite meeting his own standards. His interest in basketball, a crush on a new girl at school, and a rivalry with another student all culminates in him claiming that, despite lacking an optimal physical stature and general skill, he can slam dunk a basket at 10 feet up. With only weeks to go before having to prove this, he and his friend enlist the help of a local, who once played for minor leagues but never went pro, and over time Chang does show some improvement. However, his self-doubts do continue to shadow him, and along the way he has to come to terms with his own limitations and expectations, as well as who and what truly matters in his life. Or something like that. You know, the usual coming-of-age stuff. There isn't too much to say about the movie that you probably wouldn't already guess from that description, really. It follows a pretty standard plot, with a clear amount of save-the-cat energy that keeps the story moving forward, even if it's a bit repetitive in its structure. You can especially see this in the second act as it goes back and forth between training montages and conversational scenes, which may advance both sides of the story, but could have probably been streamlined a bit more. The film as a whole feels longer than necessary, not only because of the redundancy in these scenes, but how they drag out the runtime, especially the montages, which seem to feature the entirety of their underlying songs. If it's meant to be like an 80s training montage, it doesn't work. Besides this, however, the story also falters simply because of Chang himself, who you might expect to be treated as a sympathetic character, but comes off a bit more self-absorbed than intended. He is at least given the chance to recognize this and redeem himself, sure, but until then, he's pretty much written as unappreciative or unconcerned about others, which just makes him more and more annoying as the film continues. It could easily have been written as a major character flaw, especially if it were shown how his self-image issues were being projected upon others, but that is not what we get. What could have been at least a relatively interesting character piece mixed with an average sports drama becomes a bit below average overall. The same applies to the film's technicals and its visual look, sort of. Admittedly, there is actually a good attention to cinematography, which does keep shot compositions varied across the board and makes good use of the widescreen frame. There are even a few aspect ratio changes to help set the tone of a scene. Furthermore, when the story itself calls for somewhat obnoxious graphics and effects, they're integrated well enough into scenes and at appropriate times, rather than sprinkling them throughout the film at random. After that, though, the rest of the technical elements take a bit of a backseat to an overall lack of stylization or direction, falling back a bit on generic ideas and really just playing it safe. The worst part of this approach is definitely in editing, which again feels almost non-existent as scenes stretch themselves out and take their sweet time getting an idea across. It's almost as if the filmmakers wanted to get everything they could into the final cut, but forgot to actually have things to explore with this added time. In the end, it's all of these relatively smaller issues compounding together that makes the movie feel like a bit of a slog to get through. Even if it were edited down into a shorter film, it would likely only bring out the flaws in the writing and character portrayals. All I can say for sure is that even when there's breathing room in the film as it is, it could have still used that time for something productive. Or something along those lines. You know what I mean. Chang Can Dunk, Jingyi Shao, 2023. 2 stars. I wouldn't really recommend watching it. That's it for this review. If you liked it, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a comment. subscribe to the channel for more reviews. I wouldn't really mind seeing a shorter cut of the movie, honestly. Rather, I wouldn't mind seeing a good portion of the film cut out of the final edit. That is, I would have probably liked the movie if it were shorter than 30 minutes. Maybe less.